The topic for today is the lives of saints, which we will start after the opening prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The Hindu tradition is extremely unique in many ways, most of all because what needs to be achieved for the human being, the goal of the human being to be achieved according to the Hindu tradition, is something that is achieved while in this body, in this life itself. So everything that one is endowed with, this body, this mind, the senses, and the various blessings of abilities, potential, talents, contributions, all this which constitute the individual. So that the ultimate, that which should be achieved, can be achieved in this life, is to be achieved here and now. That is what sets this tradition apart from other traditions, where it appears that the afterlife is given more of a credence than this life. This life is led, yes, and there are some values to be followed which are taught and everything. But then there is a importance or focus given to something called afterlife. We also have a concept of afterlife, Swarga, which correlates to heaven, Naraka, which correlates to hell, and of course what makes you go there, what makes one go there, is the force of one's deeds, karma. And so we also have this. But that is not the end of life. The end of life cannot be afterlife. Otherwise, what is the point of this life? Why are we here? Why should we know what is there to achieve? If the end, if the goal of life is somewhere else, then this life, is in the danger of becoming like a bus stop where one, buys some chewing gum and whiles away the time. That is not the point. So what is the goal of the human existence? If we ask this question, why am I here? What do I have to achieve? One, may think that the answers would be different based on where the person is and, what is the person's place, gender, nationality, etc. But in the Hindu tradition, there is a universal goal. And that goal, a universal goal, an absolute goal. And what is that goal? That goal is to become a saint. That is the destiny of everybody. Whether you like it or not, whether you are ready for it or not, whether you accept it, whether you resist it, this is what it is. And what that saint is, etc., we will see as we go on this journey. But for right now, this is what is called Parama Purushartha, sarvaihi purushaihi arthyate iti purusharthah. That which is desired universally by all beings, no matter where they are, no matter wherever they live, whoever they are. This is universal, whether they lived in the medieval ages or now, or whether it will be a next generation of beings that are human beings that are going to come later. Still, there is what is called the absolute goal. And that goal in the tradition is called moksha. From the root verb much, to be free. To be free of what? What is there to be free of? Well, there is a whole list of things one wants to be free of. And you can say, starting with the annoying neighbor to somebody there, or somebody one doesn't like, in-laws, outlaws, all these things. And sometimes one doesn't like all the laws that one has to follow. All these things are there. A whole list of things from which one wants freedom. What kind of freedom? A freedom that is a lived forever freedom. This is the goal in the Hindu tradition, and it's not just a goal of the Hindu tradition, it's a goal for all human beings everywhere. It's not for somebody in India who is studying Vedanta. It's not a specific goal. There are specific goals. There are specific purusharthas or specific goals that one wants to attain. Maybe one wants to become a lawyer, an engineer, a teacher. One wants to raise children. So many goals are there. Those relative goals are there. They don't contradict the absolute goal, because the relative goals which are specific to different beings at different times in different places, the relative goals, in a way, they are there, and that's because they are there in this relative transactional reality. This is where the relative goals are unfolding, and there are so many things to achieve, and what I want to achieve is different from what he wants to achieve, what she wants to achieve. This we can say. Everybody has a different goal, because each person is different, and that's okay. But then we are not talking of the relative goals here. We are talking of that which is absolutely desired, absolutely, completely. In fact, there is a yearning for this goal called moksha, which is very pertinent to this title, The Lives of Saints. Because moksha is nothing but freedom from every source of annoyance, anger, fear, sorrow, delusion. This is, and in short, moksha is freedom from being what is called a wanting person. A person who is wanting all the time. Wanting what? All those relative goals. The relative goals keep you in a cycle of action, result of action, and of course you don't approve of the result of action, and therefore you unleash more actions and then more results. Once I went to an amusement park, and then there I saw some kind of a machine. I asked, it was a machine that was encased in some kind of a plastic. You could see all the parts, and there was a place to put 1 quarter. I said, what does this do? They said, oh, I had just come from India, so my hosts were very eager to show me, oh, this is, you have come to America for the first time, let's show you what it does. Go ahead and put the quarter. So very excitedly, I put the quarter. and then it shook. Something happened. There was one there was one piston, it went like this. There was one wheel which was connected to the piston, that kept on going like this. There were some other parts and some smaller wheels and everything, and then it just kept on going, very anticlimactic, and after a while it stopped. It did nothing. And then I said, this is all? This is what it does? This is the end of it? Yes, yes, yes. This is what it does. And then, oh, isn't this exciting? I didn't want to offend my hosts, but I didn't particularly think it was very exciting. In fact, it was just like what one calls life, because this is what it is. There is agitation, there is movement, there is a lot of going, and there is a lot of coming, but nothing seems to happen. Nothing at all seems to happen. Why? Because the longing for the absolute goal is displaced onto the relative goals. This is the main reason why one feels like that machine. A lot is going on, but nothing is produced, nothing is happening. It's anticlimactic. There is no satisfaction in seeing things in action without really the product that one wants. So what is this want? What is the product that one wants? One wants to be free of sorrow. One wants to be free of anger. One wants to be free of fear. One wants to be free of smallness. That's really what it is. One wants to be big, huge, all pervasive. And that is where the relative goals of wanting this, that, or the other, in a way, are an offshoot of not understanding and not pursuing the absolute goal. This is what it is. And so therefore what? So therefore a kind of a inner revolution of one's vision is needed. A feeling first a feeling, a strong feeling, nothing is happening. What I want, I am not getting. Through this production-oriented life, I try to produce success. I try to produce some, name, fame, accomplishments. But the more I do that, the more, like this machine that I saw in the amusement park, lot of movement, lot of activity, and then nothing. Being connected in this way to action and its results is a kind of a slavery. And this slavery is because of this addiction. The addiction to action is the addiction to the result of action. Action being finite, the results of action are also finite. And therefore, I can never appear to produce what I really want, that bigness, in fact, that infinity, which the Shastra, which all the teachings say is something that is already accomplished. It is already accomplished. And if it is already accomplished, then it is not a matter for doing, it's a matter for knowing. And this is what the saints know. Whether they teach it or not, that's a different thing. That's a very, very different thing. Because it may not be everybody's destiny to teach, the relative destiny I'm talking about. It may not be that. But this is what is meant by the word saint in the Shastra. In vernacular Indian languages, the word for saint is actually very interestingly close to the English word santa. Sant, we say. Sant and saint, they seem to be rhyming. And we think, oh, maybe the Hindi word sant and in the vernacular languages, Sant has come from saint, or maybe saint has come from Sant. Well, that will be some kind of an interesting linguistic research. But how did the word Santa come, in the Sanskrit? Very interesting. Saint, Santa. This, that's why we have Saint Kabir is called Sant Kabir, Sant Tulsidas, Sant Ramdas. They are all called Sant. Where did this word Santa come from? It comes from the word Sat. Sat means to be. Sun, this is how it declines, because in Sanskrit we have declensions. San, Santau, Santaha, plural, Santaha. Those, so saint means those that exist. Well, I also exist. So does that mean I am a saint? Sure. But do you know the truth of this existence? That is the question here, and that is the idea. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, this word comes. Asanneva sabhavati asad brahmeti veda chet asti brahmeti ched veda santamenam tato viduriti. This word Santa comes in the second chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad, where it discusses the nature of Brahman. Brahman means limitlessly big. And what is it that's limitlessly big? That which is you is limitlessly big. The truth of you is limitlessly big. The crying, faded, jaded jiva is actually limitlessly big. The complaining individual is limitlessly big. This is the vision of the Shastra. And this is a vision which, if one doesn't know, it's a very, very costly mistake. Because as we saw earlier, the loss of the infinite is indeed an infinite loss. It's a costly mistake because it leaves one in the grinding, in the daily grind of action, reaction, and then reacting to the results of action, and then acting again. Shrouded in misery, constant disappointment, constant discontent. And therefore, this is what has to be understood, because it is the universal destiny of the human being. Unlike many other cultures or many other religions, sainthood is not bestowed on a select few people who do miracles. That is not what sainthood is about, and it's not bestowed by some authority. Here it's one's own destiny, initiated by one's own actions. And what kind of actions? Here, a kind of a non-action action, the action of letting go, the action of studying this Shastra, the action of being rather than acting in a certain way. So there is nobody to say that you will be a saint, and then there is a stamp, okay, sainthood has been bestowed. Sainthood is not bestowed. Sainthood is one's birthright. It has to be actualized. It has to be understood. It has to be assimilated, and it has to be lived. This is what is the Santa. So this quotation from the Taittiriya Upanishad means the following: Asat eva sabhavati. The one who says that Brahman, Bhagavan, Ishvara, that which is Satchidananda, that which is the source of this entire universe, starting with one's own body, mind, sense complex, the one who says this Brahman does not exist, what happens to that person? That person becomes Asat. Asat means non-existent. the denial of Brahman, the source of this universe, the source of oneself, really, the truth of oneself, is a rankest form of self-denial. This is what the Taittiriya Upanishad says. Asanne vasa bhavati. Saha, this individual, bhavati, becomes asat, non-existent. If you say that there is no Brahman and you happen to be Brahman and you are saying there is no Brahman, then one becomes a laughing stock, or one is as good as non-existent. But then in the true Upanishad style, both are given. So if you deny Brahman, you are denying yourself. And then if you affirm Brahman, Asti Brahmeti Ched Veda, the one who knows what? Asti Brahma. Brahma, Asti. Brahman exists. Brahman is a reality that I have to understand. And in fact, here it should be understood, Brahma Aham Asmi. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Brahman. When this internalization takes place, when this understanding deeply takes place, Santamenam tato viduriti. Know this person to be existent. So the saints are who? People who simply are. That's are what? Are beings who have understood their bigness. And this is something which seems like a simplistic definition, but actually it is very, very profound. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita and also in the Upanishads, there are always, and again also another place, Ramayana, Mahabharata, there are role models. There are role models. And these role models are what make life worth living. Because otherwise, here is this common destiny for everybody. The common human destiny is to grow into this bigness, which means what? On the relative level, one grows to be more compassionate, more accommodative, less reactive, and more contented. In other words, one grows into being an appreciative, objective, non-demanding, and contented person. This is the growth. This is a universal growth. It's not a growth for people in China, just for people in China, and it's not a growth just for people in India. It is for everybody. If you are in a human body, this is your common destiny. And it is something that everybody wants. You go ask anybody, anywhere, in any language, would you like to be more compassionate? They will say yes. Would you like to be more accommodated? They will say yes. They may say, yes, I would like to be more dharmic. I would like to be more accommodative. But the neighbor is not very accommodative. They may say that. But that's okay. But still, they want to do this. That is why it is a universal, it's a Purusha Artha, it is Sarvaihi Purushaihi Arthyate, it is something that is desired by all. Of course, the $1,000,000 question is how to get there from the non-appreciative, complaining, discontented being, and according to the Upanishad, non-being. How do I get to the place of a person who is compassionate, accommodative, appreciative, non-demanding, and contented person? Where is the trajectory? Where is the blueprint? And that is why I love this topic so much. That is where the topic of the lives of saint comes in. Thank God, because all I have to do is see how they lead their lives or how they have led their lives. And that becomes a sadhana, a blueprint. Very, very beautiful. And that is what the Bhagavad Gita, Adi Shankara, commenting on the latter portion of the second chapter, says this, that the Lakshana of a Jnani, Jnani means the one who is Sat, the one who knows that I am the source of everything, I am one with Bhagavan, the one who has this understanding, that is called a Jnani. And so the Jnani is one who is, who has this understanding. So the Lakshana, the characteristics of the Jnani is what become the sadhana for the Ajnani. Ajnani means the one who doesn't have this knowledge. Or we can say, since nobody is really an Ajnani, Jnani wannabe. So the one who is on the road to becoming a Jnani wannabe, it becomes a wonderful blueprint. So how do I look for the saints? What will they be wearing? How will they be walking? Will they talk slowly, deliberately like this, or in a soft tone? Or will they eat certain things only? They will live on roots and fruits. These are all stereotypes which we have out of reading this, reading narratives, watching movies. Even in Bollywood movies, you'll see one fellow with a top knot and sitting under a tree, etc. So maybe that is what, is some kind of a collective imagination. And in fact, even Arjuna had the same doubts. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. He asks, how do I recognize the saint? How do I, what will they wear? First of all, is it a dadi wala? Dadi wala means one with a beard or without a beard. Who is this? And will this saint, will this saint be eating, dumplings or idlis? Or what is this saint eating? How is this saint talking? How do they sit? How do they walk? Oh, please enlighten me, oh Krishna. Krishna smiles. Krishna says, this is not how to decide who is the saint. Because the saint from China will be eating dumplings and the saint from India will be tucking in some idlis. This is not the way to understand. How they walk, how they talk, etc. That belongs to the personality. But what are we talking about? We are talking about Purusha, the person. Personality comes and goes. And even the suffix ality comes and goes without affecting the word person, Purusha. Sarvan purayati iti Purusha. The one who completes everything, the one who fills up everything. This is the etymology of the word Purusha. And so therefore, what is, Lord Krishna answers the spirit of the question. Not what the saint is eating, where the saint is going, and what are they, what are they drinking. That is immaterial. Look at their demeanor. Look at the way they relate to other jivas. Look at the way they relate to their own body. Look at the way they relate to other beings, to the Jagat, to Ishvara. And that is what one understands from, as saintly. Saintliness is something that one is not born with. One cultivates with practice after following this blueprint. What is this blueprint? Very simple blueprint. And the answer is given right away. Bhagavan Krishna just gives the answer. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. The person is known as someone who is firm in the truth of their self, firmly rooted in total self-acceptance of who they are. Why? How? Because because of two things. One is as the fancies come in the mind, even before acting to fulfill the fancies, they are able to let them go. And this is what we did during the meditation. Swami Jnaneshwari told us, whenever the thoughts come, don't entertain them, let them go, let them be. And that is exactly what the saint is able to do 24/7, 365. Let go of whatever comes. All the fancies come, all nonsensical thoughts, nonsensical ideas. Before it becomes a desire, it's in the form of a fancy. It looks harmless, but actually it doesn't take long for it to get rooted in the mind. And then it is watered with aspiration, and then it fruits, it grows flowers and fruits, and then it becomes firmly rooted. So even at the level of fancy, when it is easier to deal with, as it comes, say bye-bye, bye-bye. This is what the first thing to do in emulating the lives of saints is to just have a hanky and just say, wave goodbye to all the fancies. But why hanky? So that it will be useful to wipe the eyes later, because one will be disappointed. Naturally, in the beginning, one will say, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that. So after you wave goodbye, you can just dab your eyes and then come back to yourself. This is the idea. So you learn to wave goodbye. Why? Why should I wave goodbye? Because it really doesn't matter. What you want is to grow emotional maturity. You want to grow. You want to grow to be big. And this bigness is not just in the form of some kind of a esoteric knowledge in the pages of the Upanishad. It's a lived reality, which has a very interesting and paradoxical connection with what is talked about and taught in the Shastras. Until one cultivates this, the Shastra doesn't speak. And until the Shastra speaks, it is difficult to cultivate the bigness. So one has to start somewhere, to get out of this impasse. Start with oneself. And that bigness is the second thing that, Lord Krishna talks about. And this bigness is expressed through a very simple maxim. What is that? Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Tushtaha, contented. How? By oneself, in oneself, contented. Oh, I am also fine. I can be by myself. Yes, but leave the phone here, okay? Leave the phone with me, and then let's see how long you are fine. Oh, that's okay. I have my laptop. Leave also the laptop. Leave every device, that begins with I. iPhone, iPad, I this, I that. And then I will see whether you say I'm mad or not. Okay? From iPad and without that iPad to I'm mad doesn't take too long. Doesn't take too long. So here, without any of your devices, without any of your objects of desires, are you able to be sitting quietly and contentedly and truly with saying that you have nothing to accomplish at all? That everything is okay. Whatever is going on in the world, the things, uproar in Afghanistan, and then flash floods in the east coast, and then fires in the west coast, and then Ida in the middle, somewhere in the south. All these, are you okay? And if you are able to say yes, that means it is one is on the way to being saintly. These are the two primary things that Arjuna talks about, and very difficult how to understand it. And that's why the Gita unfolds, the Bhagavad Gita unfolds in little short little bursts of this knowledge, as much as one can assimilate. And now we fast forward to chapter 12, and the latter half of chapter 12 is again a treasure house of verses that talk about how to cultivate this kind of a saintliness. What is it that sets one, the sadhaka, apart from these saints? And there, all these things. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha. What is the lived life of saints? We see a very glorious picture that is there. And the first thing that is talked about is Adveshta sarva bhutanam. The one who does not have strong preferences or strong prejudices with regard to other beings in the world. The one that is able to be at peace. Maitra. Maitri means like a general friendliness. Karuna, compassion. And there is a shanti. There is an ability to override the emotions that come. The force of the emotions coming from the unresolved hurts and pains of the subconscious and the unconscious mind, it is there in everybody. But in the life of a saint, the saint has been able to have self-mastery, also in the Taittiriya Upanishad called as Swarajya. Swasya Rajya, Swarajya, the kingdom of the self. So when one reigns over the kingdom of the self, the whole world spins in one's hand. And this is the truth of all, Eastern traditions. You look at, you look at the teachings of Confucius, you look at the teachings of Taoism, everything. It's the same thing. Exactly the same thing. You manage yourself. You manage your own body. Learn to manage your mind. Manage your senses. And then what? And the whole world will just give itself over to you. And then those of us who have had the good fortune to meet saintly people, gurus and saintly people in our lives, we know the transformation. Just sitting in front of them, we see that, there is all the pains and sorrows are gone. In a way, they are sponges that absorb all this and that just and exude a certain peace. And that peace you feel because it belongs to you. We think it is coming from the saint because we use a kind of a crude, maxim of Anvaya and Vyatireka, some kind of a, concomitant, some kind of a concomitance maxim. Like, okay, saint is there, I am there. When the presence of the saint is there, I feel all nice, happy, warm and loving. And then when I get up and go away, all the misery comes. And therefore, the happiness, the peace, the love, the compassion must belong to that person. No, it belongs to you. In fact, the spoiler alert, the Atma of the saint is your own Atma, because there is only one Atma. There is only one Atma. Atma of the saint is you. Atma means the I. The I in the saint is the I that is in you, is the I in the he, the I in the she. It's all one. There is not the saint's Atma separate, and that is what it is. So what happens when I go and sit in front of the saint, a saintly person? What is the cause for the transformation? The cause for the transformation is your own receptivity. You are open, you are receptive, and then what happens is that they model that which you long for. They model that which you are desperate for. That shanti, that peace, this is what they model, and that is why you are transformed. It is not a property of the saint. It is peace, compassion, love, receptivity, accommodation, forgiveness. All these are not copyrighted by the saints. They are all things that are your birthright. One knows, the other is in the process of knowing. That's the only difference. And therefore, when we look at the lives of saints, we see, at least the ones that we know, which are famous, we see that their lives were not a picnic. It's not that everybody just said wonderful things and they had a wonderful life. You see that there are so many difficulties. Some of them are unimaginable difficulties. And you see you see that from Kashmir in the north to Kanyakumari in the south. You see that. And in Karnataka, there in the 11th century, there was a saint, Stakka Mahadevi, and she just the father or the mother, somebody decided to get her married. She was about 16 or something, and then she said, no, I'm not going to get married. I don't want to get married, and this is not for me. And the parents didn't listen because there was so much pressure to, this was what the culture was. If you had a daughter and she was of marriageable age, you get her married. And the father said something like, oh, so I have paid for this, I have paid for your clothes, I have paid for all this. and then what she did was she just took off all her clothes right there and just walked away into the forest. Beautiful poetry she has written, wonderful poetry. And one of them says something like, I have been a bird, I have been a crocodile, I have been a beast, I have been I have been prey, I have been preyed upon in another life by that same bird which I was in the previous life. And when are you going to relieve me of this difficult and this horrible existence? And then everybody in the forest also thought she was mad. This is one more thing. One more thing that we see from the lives of saints is that they get to the place of inner strength, that the disease which the rest of the people appear to have. And what is the disease called? The disease has a name. What will other people think it is? That is the disease. What will they think? They are not thinking anything. You lead your life. No. What will they think if I start to have vairagya? Why are you worried about them? This is what is called what will other people think it is. It's a disease of samsara. It's a subset of samsara syndrome. This is what the disease is. And in the saints, they can drop their clothes, they don't have anything. And then the sages in the forest recognized her greatness, recognized Akka's greatness, and they said, even though she was much younger to them, they addressed her as mother, and they said, Mother, please grow, you have so much wonderful hair, please grow it long so that people don't look at you badly. It's not for your sake, for our sake, please grow it long. And so when you see photos of Stakka Mahadevi, if you Google, don't do it now, okay? Yeah, because in the description of the retreat, it says, please do not multitask. I read that, very nice. So we have to pay attention now. Later you Google, and if you see the photos, pictures, drawings, you will see her completely clad in her own hair. Very, very beautiful. Amazing. And then you see Tulasi Das, the author of the Ramacharita-manas. And it is said that he also had lot of difficulties, very, very hard life. And the only ray of hope in his life was his marriage. He was married to someone who was loving, beautiful, caring, a delightful lady. And he could not be separated from her. And then what? The ancient, in the medieval times, whatever, some kind of a hurricane came. In fact, it is not hurricane. It is Hari came. Okay, yeah, that is what hurricane is. It is Hari who has come. That is what it is. It's a manifestation of Bhagavan. So this hurricane, caused flash floods, etc. And then she had gone to visit her relatives. She had gone to her native place. And then he was just bereft. He said, "Oh, now the waters are rising of the river. How will I sleep without seeing her? How will I do this?" And then in that, and he was so mad in love, madly in love, he went, in that crocodile infested water, swam across that in the rain, in this riptide, in all this. He swam across that, and then the river. And then he couldn't even find out which is her house because it was all underwater. But thankfully, the family had repaired to the upstairs attic. And so then he just went to her house and started to cry, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then she did not come to the window for a long time. Then she came to the window. And then surprisingly, she scolded him. She said, "You like a madman after me, after this body that is going to age, that is going to become a skeleton one day. You are so madly in love with me after this mind that is just going to dust and it's just going to go away. And if you show even half of this madness to seek the Lord, imagine the heights you will reach." So saying, she closed the windows. She didn't even invite him and said, "Okay, the weather is bad, spend the night here and then go back in the morning." She closed the doors and windows. She went back. Who is the saint here? She had so much. She knew her husband's greatness and his potential, and she had that courage to send him back. And that's when he went back, and then he had a big transformation. He had a huge transformation and started to write the story of his Ishta Devata, Lord Rama. He composed the Ramacharita. So like this, it's not just in this culture. In every culture, there are people who stand out. And so therefore, what is needing to be done is cultivate in our lives a saintliness. And if you say, "Okay, I cannot become Tulsi Das and I cannot become Stakka Mahadevi or whoever, I cannot be Jesus, I cannot be this one, I cannot be that one," doesn't matter. You cultivate, we cultivate even 1/100th of what they have. That itself is a huge blessing. How to do that? People always tell me, "I want some practical tips." Okay, so now we have reached the portion of the talk which will give a few practical tips. The first thing, of course, and which is the theme, which has been the theme of this entire retreat, is service, love and service. So there is something about Seva. What Seva does is that it gives a jump start, a kick start from wherever one is to a certain level of growth. And Seva doesn't, Seva is misunderstood. Seva doesn't mean I work without pay somewhere. That is not what we are talking of Seva. Seva is in the bhava. Bhava means the attitude with which one does something. And that same Seva bhava you can have serving the people in your own home. In your own home. Because generally the idea is, generally what people do, let me just get over something quickly. I have to cook, okay, let me cook quickly and finish it off. And then somebody says, "Oh, but I want this, I want that." Children say, then there is annoyance. I have to do something quickly and finish it off. This is not Seva. This is not yoga. Yoga here is karma yoga. A kind of a union with what you do, and you become one with what you do. And how do you become one with what you do? Because you are not doing this for yourself. There is a greater good there. So your attitude, you become one with what you do because what you do is Bhagavan. Karma yoga is doing Bhagavan day by day. Because what is Bhagavan? Everything. Whatever, whoever you are serving is a manifestation of Bhagavan. Your action is Bhagavan. Result of action is Bhagavan. That is why we say Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. Even though it is a pre-lunch prayer, it is not just for lunch. It is for whole of life. The doer is Brahman, the result of action is Brahman, the ingredients in doing is Brahman. Brahman here is Bhagavan, Ishvara, the Lord, the Goddess. And so therefore, there is, in this loving service, there is, in the beginning the service may not be loving. So in the beginning, one learns to serve. And serving here, Seva, is nothing but giving. This giving becomes extremely important. And in the beginning, there is, it is very difficult to open the fist. A Jewish rabbi told me this once, and I've never forgotten. It made an impression on me. A child is always born with closed fists, and then when the person dies, the person has open hands. This is the journey of life. The instinct is to hoard. The instinct is to, have things for oneself because of that, insecurity left over from animalistic births from previous, incarnations, perhaps, who knows. And so in learning to give, well, just like the whole life is taken for the child to grow into an adult, and that, we are not talking of the physical growth. We are talking of the inner child growing into a secure being. And you cross the bridge of not giving by giving. Whenever there is insecurity, you give. Oh, I don't have time. Volunteer somewhere. Oh, I don't have money. Doesn't matter. Give just a quarter. That's okay. Give as much as you can give, just, maybe a cup of coffee, whatever it costs. Give a little bit. And then, give a little more. My guru, Swami Dayananda ji, always used to say, learn to give until it hurts. If it doesn't hurt, that means you haven't given. Very nice. But one slowly grows, small baby steps in the matter of service, which is actually giving. You give of yourself. You give the best that you have to the world, and what you will see that the best will come back to you, because that is what is the beauty of giving. You give, and then you inspire people in two ways. First is, as soon as you enter a room, they don't run away, because you are a giving person. They're not afraid of you. In addition to giving, you have given them abhaya. You have said, don't fear, I'm here. Don't be afraid of me. So that is one of the beautiful fruits of giving. So in giving, you become the second thing is, in giving, you feel good. Imagine when you have to go ask somebody for money, what is your demeanor like? You look to the left, who is listening? You look to the right, and you become small. You slowly approach the person and say, can I please have a little bit? There is this, kshudrata, this smallness. But imagine when you're in a position of giving, bigness. There is that, a certain bigness is there. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I'm able to give. Yes, I want to give. And just see, in these two demeanors, which would you rather be? Because the asker is always, the consumer is always a wanting person. So therefore, the life of a saint is the one that has, where the person has transformed herself or himself from a consumer to a contributor. That is what one wants to be. That is what is the baby steps of saintliness. You learn to contribute wherever it is, of your time, of your wealth, of your resources. And the word I don't have goes from the vocabulary, taking along with it that smallness. Because for the person who says, I don't have enough to give, whatever that giving is, time, money, etc., the one who says, I don't have enough to give, feels small. And the more one says it, the more that smallness becomes a very big orientation, and therefore that orientation is dropped by giving. Anger is overcome by managing the anger. And the capacity to accommodate, compassion, finally, compassion, accommodativeness is gained by indulging in practicing acts of compassion. I read one, what is that called? That sticker behind the car, bumper sticker. And there it said, practice random acts of compassion. I just wondered to myself, what other kind of compassion is there? If it is a calculated compassion, it's not compassion. If I want something from you and therefore I'm being nice to you, that's not compassion. Compassion is naturally random. Kindness is naturally random by default, by definition. So if you want to evoke, if you want to discover the saint in you, behave like a saint. That's all it is. Behave like a saint. This is what happened to me. When I was small, when I was a young girl, I read one, what was that called? One book. It was called the Nuns Story. Okay. And then I went and told my mother, I think I know what I want to be in my life. I want to become a nun. Okay. And I thought maybe she will have none of it. But she, very wise lady. What did she say? She says, okay, you can start living right now. She says, I will also read the book. And then, okay, so from now on, no more chocolates, no more friends, and no more second helpings of whatever you like. And then so you have to sleep on the floor because this lady slept on the floor. And then you have to do all this. And then after a week, I said, I don't think I want to be a nun. Okay? I also, so like this, you act it out. But I'm not feeling compassionate right now. You just, as my guru used to say, as though fake it and make it. Oh, so you're asking me to tell lies. No, I'm not asking you to tell lies. I'm asking you to be, what should I say, authentic, absolutely. And when you are in absolute authenticity, you are compassionate, you are giving, you bypass all these little, parsimony, miserliness, all this you bypass. When you are happy, that's how you are. You are compassionate, accommodate, giving, serving, loving naturally. Compassion and love are the dynamic forms of ananda, which is one's nature. So here you are as though faking it, because there is a big resistance. There is a parallel reality that is just, overshadowing everything. And so then therefore, that resistance is overcome by practicing the art of giving, art of serving, and practicing acts of compassion. Doesn't change, doesn't take place in a day. Just like if you go to the gym and then go like this. Oh, did something happen? Where is my muscle? There is no muscle. Okay. The next day you go, no muscle. Third day you go, no muscle. After 1 month you regularly go, one baby muscle is born. Same thing here. A saint is not born. A saint is, a saint is what one quote unquote as though becomes, which one by discovering the truth of oneself. And with that we will stop here. There's a lot more to say, but The time is there. Time is gone now. So this much is enough. Something to think about, some food for thought, some sharing. That's all. Once again, many thanks to Swami Sitaji and for inviting me, and to all the Swamis of the ashram who I know and love. And then thank you very much for all your support and help in making this a wonderful program. I have not been able to be online as much as I would have liked because of some other classes, but I'm listening to the recordings. So thank you very much.
Thank you
Om
very
Tat
much,
Sat.
Swamini ji.